Hello my friends, Bella Maldonado here, and today we are doing a tarot hashtag and it's called 1001 Significators. And it was started by one of my favorite YouTubers and fellow Boricua, Ramon over at Moon Scarab, and he's had some really fun creative discussions about tarot, so definitely go check him out. But before we jump into the hashtag, let's just define really quickly what a significator is. A significator is simply a tarot card that represents who you are if you're doing a tarot reading for yourself or the person that you're reading for. So as you can probably tell by the cards spread out on my table, I am Temperance and Temperance is me. No, Temperance is I. I? No, Temperance is me. So why am I so much like Temperance, you ask? Well, Temperance doesn't go to the extremes. Temperance walks the middle path. Temperance does things in moderation. Good old reliable Temperance. So for those of you who grew up on television in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, Temperance is the Janet Wood of Three's Company, the Danny Tanners of Full House, the Pipers of the Hallowell sisters. Good old reliable Temperance. Good old boring Temperance. It's okay, I don't mind being boring because I surround myself with people who aren't. So in the end, it kind of balances itself out. Oh, just like Temperance. Also, Temperance is about keeping calm during stressful situations. It's about being as diplomatic as possible when people come to you for help. That's what people always say about me. Everyone says, oh, she's so diplomatic. But now that I say it like that, I'm not sure if they mean that in a good way. Also, Temperance doesn't overdo it and Temperance doesn't underdo it. It's like, I'm not gonna go bungee jumping or skydiving, but I'm also not gonna sit on the sofa all day and watch Netflix. Although actually that does kind of sound good right about now. That gives you a little idea of what I'm like and more of an understanding behind the energy of Temperance. And of course there are other nuances that make Temperance Temperance, but this is just to give you a general idea. So let's get these cards out of the way and start with prompt number 1. Which depiction is your all-time favorite and why? Okay, so quick nudity alert for sensitive eyes. I mean, it's just a drawing, it's not a photo, but still, just putting it out there. My favorite depiction is this one, from the Tarot of the Crystal World by Brooke Penrose. And this was a Kickstarter, and I fell in love with the art. And what I like about this depiction is that it's slightly different from the standard Rider-Waite-Smith. So if you look at some of the clones, you'll see that they have 1 foot in the water and 1 foot on land. And you can see that in a lot of cards. Let me just pull some up over here that I have. You'll see that with decks like the Modern Witch, the Universal Waite, the Steampunk. You see the foot in the water, foot on land. Foot in water, foot on land, same thing. And that's perfectly fine if you want to depict balance and harmony and being at peace. But what I love about this depiction is that it shows balance through sex and gender. And these days, this topic, it's a bit taboo. It's been the source of a lot of debate and in some cases, some extreme controversy. But when you look at this card, you can see the tranquility in this person. You can see how at peace they are with themselves. And it's so inspiring when someone can illustrate that kind of energy on a card while also depicting diverse and oftentimes misrepresented communities like intersex people or transgender folks. And when an artist can steer you away from the negative stereotypes by portraying something beautiful, it kind of gives you hope for humanity, you know? Prompt number 2. Which depiction has given you a new perspective on the meaning of your significator? For me, that would be Temperance from The Golden Tarot by Kat Black. And according to the guidebook, this person here is supposed to be a nun with angel wings. And this character is supposed to be a saint giving their blessing. But to me, when I look at her, she looks like she's up to no good. It's like she's there mixing her cups, tossing the liquid from one to the other, doing her job, but at the same time, she's looking up to see if the coast is clear. I mean, look at that face. right? She's looking to see if the coast is clear. To me, it almost looks like her conscience who's waving his finger saying, no, no, no. Do you see the finger? See if I can bring that up. No, no, no. Don't even think about it. And she keeps looking at him like a naughty little kid. And the new perspective that I'm getting from this card is that, yes, Temperance does what Temperance is told, but every now and again, she does want to go to the extreme. She does want to do something a little unexpected. Now, I don't think her version of extreme is the same as everybody else's, but they'd be extreme for her. You know, like I can almost imagine her ripping off that habit and shaking her hair loose. Like for her, that's going to be extreme, but she normally doesn't do that sort of thing. But in this instance, maybe she does. And deep down, Temperance knows that whatever extreme behavior, in quotes, is that she's going to take part in the long run, it's not going to hurt anybody. It's just a little something for Temperance, a little naughtiness that makes her giggle and feel rebellious. And it's okay. And just like Oscar Wilde said, everything in moderation, including moderation. Prompt number 3. Which depiction of your significator provokes deep thoughts? I would say Temperance from the Vertigo Tarot by Dave McKean and Rachel Pollack. I mean, just looking at it makes you want to sit for a minute and really dig in. So I zoomed in a little closer so we can take a better look at this card. And at first glance, we can immediately see this as a collage. And when I think of collages, I think of parts of different things coming together to create something new. And the figure here almost looks like a mummy, right? It kind of looks like a mummy, like they're tied up or restrained. And the figure doesn't really have a full face. I mean, you have pieces, right? You have some eyes here and a piece of lips there and a little bit of boobage. So what does this all mean? Does it mean that Temperance is just a facade? That no one can ever reach true temperance? I mean, even the liquid inside the cups, it kind of looks like it's violently being tossed from side to side. There's nothing moderate about how these liquids are moving. And back to the mummy thing, it looks like we have to physically enclose ourselves in order to maintain temperance. So, does that mean I'm not real? That my connection with temperance is just a disguise or a cover-up? Am I just pretending that I'm calm, cool, and collected when in reality I'm just the opposite? Is my diplomatic nature just something I forced upon myself and isn't really who I want to be? Is that why I see the naughtiness in the Golden Tarot? Where is that card? This naughtiness, is that just something that I want to see and isn't actually there? This is just a nun looking at a saint? Oh my God. I think I'm opening up a can of worms here. Maybe I should hit up, what is it called? What's that ad you always see on YouTube? What is it, BetterHelp? Maybe I need to hit them up and unpack this a little further. Oh my God, is this why I always see their ads? Prompt number 4. Which depiction of your significator is difficult to connect with? I'm going to pick this one, the Temperance card from the Tragically comic or Comically Tragic Tarot of Mr. Punch. Yes, that title is quite a mouthful. Now, when I first saw this card, I did not know what to make of it. I mean, I still kind of don't. Instead of Temperance, it's called Art, but I know that in the Thoth deck, Temperance is also called Art, but the art in this art is not working for me here. And I'm sure it's just me with lack of imagination. I'm just gonna look at this and attempt to give it one more try. Let's just study it a little more. Let's see what happens. I'm gonna try to work through this out loud. So what do we see here? There's a character with angel wings holding what looks like a scythe, right? Is that a scythe? It looks like a scythe. I'm pretty sure. Let me see, can I zoom in a little bit more? Let me zoom in a little bit more so we can see this better. All right, yeah, that looks like a scythe. And they're turning the pages of sheet music. That's what it looks like a little book of sheet music. And next to the angel, there's a little kid sitting on a stool playing the piano. And does he have a halo around his head? It kind of looks like a halo. So Is the point that they're just collaborating to work toward presenting a piece of music? I don't get it. I don't know. And there's a flower on the stage. Is that a lily? It looks like a yellow lily, right? And I know that lilies mean purity and innocence, and I think in Lenormand it means old age or maturity, among other things. And I'm trying to see how that could tie in with this. I mean, maybe because it's a yellow lily, it means something a little more specific. Does a yellow lily mean connection with the divine? I once read somewhere that yellow lilies facilitate a path toward divinity, so maybe that has something to do with it. And this over here kind of looks like a sand clock. What does a sand clock have to do with temperance? Is it patience, maybe? Time, patience, temperance? Oh. And there's a goblet on the piano. And normally we see temperance with 2 goblets, but I only see 1. Unless the sand clock is supposed to represent the other one. I don't know. I'm really digging. So back to the connection with divinity. Is that what the art card is all about? Is it like the creation of art brings you closer to divinity? I think I'm reading too much into this. I don't know. And what is this? What is this? This is a shady creature. What is that? This looks like Death sneaking off stage. Was it Death who came in with the scythe and Temperance said, no, leave your scythe at the door, and that's why he has it now? And now Death is all mopey because he can't have his way and he's exiting stage left. But why is it? Is it because they're creating art and Death is about putting an end to things? But how does that relate to Temperance? I don't know. And of course it doesn't help that I don't have the guidebook. So if anybody out there has the Mr. Punch Tarot Deck guidebook and can look up Temperance for me, I'd be greatly appreciative. Prompt number 5. Which depiction of your significator takes you to a different time and place? This one, Temperance from the Housewives Tarot. When I look at this card, it takes me back to the days of I Love Lucy, Leave It to Beaver, and Ozzie and Harriet. I mean, the whole deck gives that vibe, let's be honest, but the old school mixer here that isn't a modern red or teal KitchenAid always brings me back to those times. Even though I didn't actually live in that time, but I watched television from that time. As you can tell from my references to the Dick Van Dyke Show in a previous video, Housewives, as they were called, loved making everything from scratch. They made cakes from scratch, bread from scratch, cookies from scratch. And you know, even though I'm not a housewife, I do make a pretty mean rum cake. Oh wait, I use a mix for that. But even though this takes me to a different time and place, it still has the elements of Temperance. For example, if you take a close look, you'll see the ingredients of joy and sorrow, both on the extreme sides of the spectrum, but when you mix them together, you get a nice, healthy, balanced blend of the two. So you mix and blend until you create the perfect balanced combination. Prompt number 6. Which is an unconventional depiction of your significator? Temperance from Mary L. When I see this card, it just looks so rough and intense, which for me is the polar opposite of what Temperance usually means to me. And even now, after having this deck for a few years, I don't get that feeling of things in moderation. The visual for me is just a little too severe. Now, I mean, with time, I think I started to gain a bit of understanding of the fiery aspect of the tiger mixing with the coolness of the water and the idea of these two elements mixing together, but for me, the visual is still way too intense, which is why from my perspective, it's an unconventional depiction. It's not a wrong depiction, and I'm sure one day it'll resonate better with me the more I study it. Prompt number 7. Which card is my significator's opposite? For this one, I chose the 5 of Wands. As I mentioned earlier, Temperance gives me a sense of peace. And if I were to choose the opposite of peace, I would go with chaos. And one of the cards of chaos for me is the 5 of Wands. Although there could be others as well, like maybe the Tower. But in a way, I kind of feel like the Tower has more in common with Temperance and that it's all for the greater good. But with the 5 of Wands, there's a chaos in there that isn't really beneficial to anyone. There's a selfishness in this card that prevents any kind of progress. Everybody's blinded by their own opinions and points of view, and taking extreme measures to win their argument, whereas Temperance likes to take both sides into consideration and come to a happy medium or compromise. Prompt number 8. Which other card is your significator's sibling? My significator's sibling would definitely have to be the Two of Coins. Now, both of these cards represent balance, but each of them have their unique nuances where they don't overlap. So for example, the Two of Coins here looks like they're struggling or being challenged to stay balanced. Whereas for Temperance, the balance just comes naturally. It's a normal and regular way of life. Although I don't know, after that psychoanalysis from earlier, who knows? Either way, the presence of balance is a big theme for both cards, and that's why I chose this one as its sibling. Prompt number 9. What thing in nature embodies the spirit of your significator? Now, since this isn't going to look at a particular card, I'm just going to start laying out all my Temperance cards again. So the question was, what thing in nature embodies the spirit? So I think nature in and of itself embodies the spirit of Temperance. I mean, nature has a beautiful way of balancing itself out when mankind isn't messing with it. Like the way plants produce oxygen for animals to breathe, and animals produce carbon dioxide for the plants. And we have the water cycle, where liquid evaporates into vapor, condenses to form clouds, and precipitates back to Earth. There's species in an ecosystem like predators and prey having specific roles in keeping the system running smoothly. All of these things in nature need to coexist in order to keep the balance of the planet. And again, that's when humans aren't messing with it. But that's a whole other story. Prompt number 10. What thing in the ordinary world embodies the spirit of your significator? Well, in everyday life, I think you can find so many examples of when too little of something can wreak as much havoc as too much of the very same thing. For example, water. Too little can cause your body to get dehydrated, and too much, and then your kidneys can't handle it and start putting your body in the danger zone. The same with the sun. Too little sun and our body doesn't produce enough vitamin D, which is needed for our bones, and then too much sun, and then your skin burns, and in excessive cases can cause skin cancer. And the same could be said about eating, exercise, sleep, multitasking, social media. I mean, the list goes on and on. And it's funny, when I think of all these examples, it kind of reminds me of just one of the ways in which reversals can be read. And a lot of people think that reversals are just the opposite of the upright meaning. And in some cases it can be, but in others, too much or too little of that energy can also serve as a reversed meaning of a card. I actually have a set of different ways in which reversals can be interpreted. So if any of you are interested in me explaining that in a future video, let me know in the comments below. And while I have you interacting with my channel, be sure to hit that like button if you're enjoying the content. I'd love for you to hit subscribe if you want to see more of this tarot goodness. So Ramon, thank you for taking me on this significator journey. I had a really great time pondering some of these answers, and some of them took me a while to think about. So thanks again for creating this very thought-provoking exercise. Until the next one, bye.